This is episode number 254 of the InnerFight podcast. Big shout out to our show sponsors, Smith Street Paleo. Of course, if you hop over to iTunes, leave a review and rate the podcast, we'll send you a goodie bag of Smith Street Paleo treats. You need to leave a review as well as give a rating. Please jump over there and do that. Thanks to Smith Street Paleo for supporting the InnerFight podcast. So don't forget also to check out our new show, Fitness in Under 3 Minutes. It's the second podcast of the week that we release. 3 minutes and we solve all your fitness issues. Go check that out now. 3 minutes of your time. Andre.
Yep.
100k on a rowing machine. Are you in or are you out?
Maybe after the regionals next year if we qualify.
But mate, when I say that, 100k, what comes into your mind straight up?
That's crazy. I've never done more than 15k in one day. 100k is absolutely crazy. I mean,
it's
the drive, the motivation. I mean, your motivation has to be.
It has to be up there, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, mate, I did it a year ago, and it was a crazy time. This story is not about me. We're just about to hook up online with a guy who's visited our gym. He's been a big support of us,
Yeah.
James Baker, who recently did this in the UK. So I know you've got some.
Got some questions.
You've
I
got
can't
some
wait
questions.
to hear.
Can't wait to hear. Let's jump in and chat to James.
Let's do it.
So that's it. Here we are, James Baker, another guy to join, mate. Quite a slim group of people who have had the insanity, I would say, to sit on a Concept 2 rowing machine. Thanks a lot for joining us on the line, mate. How are you?
Yeah, very well, Marcus. Yeah, thanks very much for having me.
Just a few weeks after doing your 100k row, we'll talk about the immediate reaction later. But your thoughts now about that row? Was it still a good idea?
Yeah, absolutely. It was a sort of, I suppose it was a bucket list thing. I'm sure we'll get into why I did it, but no, it seems like a good idea, and almost immediately started thinking about possibility of sort of what next. I suppose it certainly wasn't the end of the road for me in terms of endurance rowing.
Have you done anything before that? Anything similar to that distance or similar to that length of a workout or challenge?
So yeah. Well, no, I'm not. I mean, Marcus will tell you, I'm not built for endurance.
None of us
but
are.
I did I did a multi-stage ultra, and then I did a single-stage ultra, which was about 20 hours. It was about 83 miles along the Dorset coast, quite close to where Marcus has been staying recently in the UK. So I kind of knew that the process by which you go through mentally when you do something over that period of time, I think this was unique in terms of it was fixed. There was no hiding during the 7 hours it took me to row the distance, and that was
7 hours
entirely unique. Yeah. Yeah.
Mate, let's dial back to a little bit. You mentioned it just there, but why did you take this on? What was the sort of motivation? What is your why in this row?
Okay, the initial why was I was poorly last year, so I was ill. It was a long story short. I work overseas, as you know.
Yeah.
And I ended up getting Casevac'd home from here to the UK. I had an operation. I thought I'd recovered. I went in the gym. I rode a 5k PR, and then we went back to casualty almost immediately. Rachel, my wife, drove me straight back to casualty, and then I stayed in there for a few weeks. I had a CT scan, some MRIs, and anyway, it put me out of training for about 3 months, which I think at the time was the longest I hadn't trained in about 15 years. Now, not to an elite level, but just that sort of, that regularity of training was the longest gap I'd ever had. So as I lay there, I trained with you guys, intermittently on my travels through Dubai. I knew you'd done it, and I read your words on it and how bad it sounded, and it just seemed like a good thing to do.
Mate, it's a little bit personal, but for me anyway. But so when you read that story, most people read that story and have completely the opposite response to what you had. Most people are like, that sounds like an absolutely miserable sort of time of life and a few hours on a rowing machine, but you went absolutely the opposite way. What's going on with that?
Like you say, it is a really personal thing. It's a really personal thought process. I read it, and I understood what you're alluding to, but without having experienced it, you can never truly understand your words. You can have an appreciation and you can process it, but I don't know. It just it just really kind of turned me on. It was something I read, and I really just wanted to do it. I wanted to see what it felt like, and I enjoy the journey through the experience. I like visiting different parts of my character.
So, overcoming the 3 months of injury, going into this 100k row, what kind of preparations have you done up to that? Did you just jump straight into it, or?
Yeah. No, not at all. So I started training again in December. So that was when I was past fit to train. I had to be really careful prior to that. So past fit to train at the end of December. Stopped sort of drinking. Really needed to try and lose a bit of weight, and set the goal to try and achieve a relative fitness by April. Once I'd achieved that, then I allowed myself the prospect of doing 100k, which, in accordance to my work routine, so I'm away for every other month. September, it sort of coincided with September, so set the goal. And the way I work is that as soon as I've got an idea, then I announce it. So there's an immediate pressure on me to do it, because the more people that know I'm doing it, the less likely it is I could ever back out.
Exactly.
Not that I think I would, but it's just something I've always done. And so September was the date, and I allowed myself then that intervening period between April and September to train. Now, I work in a remote site in the Middle East with really limited equipment. Obviously, I have to contend during that period with pretty high temperatures, up to about 56 degrees. And so, yeah, the challenge was not just the day itself, as everyone who competes at any level knows. It's all those days and weeks and months preceding. And that's probably the most, and that's the way it really worked out. The decision was made in April, and the date was set, and in September it was done.
Mate, you had some really sort of what I'd call long training days where you'd row up to sort of 50 kilometers a day. Talk us through a little bit about how your training started, and sort of what resources as well that you used, and how it evolved to sort of at the end. I mean, mate, I saw you in the UK just a few weeks before, and you'd just done like the fastest sort of 6k or something like that you'd done, and you're absolutely thrashing yourself right up until. So talk us through that whole training process, because I think it's a really good story.
It's a good story, but it's certainly not one that anyone should follow, because I pretty much ignored all advice. Yeah, when I trained for the ultra, I think the ultra was 83 miles. The furthest I ever ran in any single time was 30. And the way that my mind works, and this is a reflection of my lack of intelligence, but I always figured that if I could run 30, then I could probably run 60. That's just the way I work. So when I prepared for the 100k row, I was confident that as long as I could row 50k, I knew I could row 100. And clearly there's no logic in that. So yeah, my working day when away is at least 12 hours, between 12 and 14 hours. So to get the volume in, I'd get up at 4 in the morning, I'd go and row for as long as I could prior to breakfast. All my meal timings are pretty fixed, and obviously I needed to eat. So I'd row from 4, I'd get 10 to 15 Ks done then I'd try and get a session at midday, around 15 to 20 Ks, and then I'd do a session at night of normally another 20 Ks. Obviously, this is summer now, so I'm trying to hydrate the intervening periods are spent drinking as much water as I can, because yeah, come the evening, it's you're battling hydration as you are fatigue.
That sounds like a crazy busy schedule. What about your family, your friends? How do they react to this big challenge, and you setting yourself up to it, you sharing this goal with them? How do they react?
So I'm very fortunate in that Rachel, my wife, is hugely supportive. She deals with my absence for 6 months a year, I've got 2 young girls whom are also sort of part of the reason why I did it. And so I was very lucky that when I was home, Rachel was extremely supportive. On the day she was invaluable. Like, there's no way I could have done it without her. And in addition, when I'm away, everyone's always part of it. I'm lucky that communications are pretty good here. So yeah, friends and family played a massive part. I had 2 major supporters on the day, and a couple of guys that also sort of did a couple of periods of rowing just to keep me going.
Mate, I want to dig back to some of that training, because you've really just made it sound like anyone could do it. It's very easy, very straightforward. I got up at 4 o'clock, I punched out 20k, and then I came back to it, and at the end of the day I've done 50. Like, really, what's going on in your head when not maybe the first session is easy, you're fired up for it, but you said you're in an incredibly hot place, you've got hydration issues, and the end of the day, the end of your long working day, you're going to hop back on this machine to get to the 50k mark. Talk us through some of those challenges there.
Okay, so I if you really want to sort of if you take it right back, I left school at 16. I joined the army, and I wanted to get away, whatever. I wanted to join the army, and I think having got out the army, sort of changing career slightly, I really need to continue to prove myself, and it's not prove myself to other people. It's continue to prove myself to myself.
Right.
And so I really think this challenge fits in with that. Once I've set that goal, there's no way I won't do it. So I almost, my biggest fear is letting myself down. So if I say I'm going to do 50k, the minute that enters my head, I almost have to do it. I can't let myself down. So motivation is never really an issue. It's quite complicated, I think, but I just know by virtue of the fact that I don't want to let myself down that I'll get up and do it.
That's amazing,
really
because
and in terms of,
I was just saying, that's amazing because the motivation is often the biggest thing and the biggest problem for most people, and for you it sounds like that's not a problem at all.
No, often the restriction is opportunity and not and like you say, it's not that intrinsic motivation. I'm lucky that I have that. It's just a shame that sometimes that's more through fear of failure than it is through, so the motivation can be driven by a negative force sometimes, and I think it can be driven by a positive force. Often my restriction is the opportunity to train and not getting out there and stuff. I don't normally have a problem with that. It's actually quite therapeutic, particularly while I'm away.
I'm sure it is to a certain extent, mate. A lot of it, as you said there, is perhaps born out of the fact that you won't fail. If you commit to doing something, you won't fail. But without sounding negative, I'm sure there's been some situations where you have started things and have failed. So how do you sort of mix the two together or overcome that?
I think obviously with every failure it becomes a raft of lessons, and for any positivity to be drawn from that failure, those lessons have to be clearly identified and understood by you. And now that process might require you talking through it with somebody else. It might require you writing those down and then reflecting after a period of time. But yeah, absolutely. I have failed, and sometimes I consider failure to be to have tried to do something, and more so than to have tried and not completed it. I think failure for me is if I've considered something and then I've discounted it for whatever reason. That for me is a greater failure than to have attempted it and not finished.
Incredible. Some quite obviously powerful things there about motivation, what motivates people. I've been speaking a lot on failure recently, so it's really interesting to hear it. But let's go back to that training. How did the build-up come? Like, how did you get to... Because I think this is one thing as well, like 100k is a long way. For some people, 10k is a long way. What was really the starting point? How did you sort of start rowing? Did you start doing like 2k hits and then go, okay, yeah, I'm pretty good at 2k? And I know you said to yourself, if I can get 50k, I can get 100k, but did it start in smaller chunks?
Yeah, I suppose very much like my I'm not a natural runner. I can cover distance. I can cover distance through mentality and not through ability. And for me, it's almost about increasing your tolerances and your own mindset. So, I would literally, as you've just said, incrementally increase my distances until such point as they didn't become intimidating. So, a 5K for anybody starting rowing is a miserable distance if you're working hard. But once 5K becomes less miserable, then I'd go 7.5K, and once I became comfortable with 7.5K, just increase it and just keep increasing it. So I guess it's essentially trying to overcome or always push yourself just outside that comfort zone. So you're enjoying that feeling of success and progression without trying to take too great a leaps and push yourself beyond your capability, and therefore you're growing in your self-confidence and your ability to achieve, like we said, up to 50K in one go, and that is incremental. And I think success is very, very much down to that plan. So you have the date, whatever it is you want to achieve, whether for you it's 10K or whether it's 100K or whether it's a million meters, then you work back and you allow yourself the time and you stick to that plan in order that you need to prepare to succeed, and I think preparation in this was absolutely key.
Awesome. So you did all the preparation, you're motivated, you're ready, you got the right support network. The day is here, you're going to row 100K. Get us through it. Tell us about it.
Yeah.
Start to end.
Well, Marcus will laugh now because the plan went straight out the window.
Yeah.
So everything I just said is a lesson that I learned by not doing it. So all of my training prep was great. Like I said, I had two guys that rowed. One guy rowed a half marathon with me, sort of in the middle third, and then I had a buddy who rowed from 99 to 91K. From 91K to go to 99. And all the while I had Storm from DBA Sports was in communication with Marcus, giving him my heart rate, stroke rate, and pace. And I've seen the transcript, Marcus, so I know what you've said about me.
We won't repeat some of it.
No. And then really importantly, I had Rachel, my wife, there, who knows me better than anyone else, and literally by a look or a gesture, she could read what my state of mind was and how I felt, and she was, forcing me to drink, forcing me to hydrate. Come the day of the race, I went in. I did it on a Sunday. I went in on the Saturday. I had my own rower to do it on, which was pretty important. Only in terms of the fact that I knew it was service, I knew it was reliable. Obviously, batteries were good. I didn't want the batteries running out at 70K to go. Had the whole station set up and sort of just did a quick prove row of a couple of K just to make sure that everything was functioning. Got in there early. I wanted to start early because of regardless of the fact it was in the UK, ambient temperature does make a massive difference in terms of how much, my hydration and my sort of status in terms of water loss. So I wanted to start early. Got in there. It was just myself, Rachel, Storm, and my two children, and we just set it to 100K on RowPro and just started going. Had a game plan. To stick to a certain heart rate and pace. I'm laughing because I know Marcus is laughing. And then so after about 37K, I started to do my maths, and at this stage I was still capable of doing basic maths, and I worked out, pushed it a little bit further. I could get a sub 3 hour marathon, which is not like a great achievement, but it just seemed like something worth doing. So I started to pull quite hard. I got a 2:57 marathon, which, like I say, it's not amazing, but I was pleased with it. And I think my heart rate rose, my stroke rate was pretty high, and my splits were quite low. And Marcus got a message, and his return message to that was, "What a douche." So the game plan went slightly out the window there.
Well, hang on. Should we give this a little bit of context? The fact that the week before, I was with James in the UK, lucky enough to go and watch one of his daughter Daisy's play hockey, and he was telling me on the sideline that I said, "How are you going to go about this?" It was the first time we'd got to speak about it in person. I said to him, "How are you going to go about this?" And he said, "Mainly based on heart rate." I said, "Right, so what's your sweet spot?" And I can't remember exactly what you said, mate, but it was something like, I'm good at about 135 beats. So he's telling me that, and then I get this message through that he's just under a marathon in and already blowing at about 155 beats a minute. And I was like, oh God, we're in a little bit of trouble here.
Not even 1/3 done.
Not even, yeah, just over a third done, and we're already burning all the sugars that apparently you wouldn't eat anyway. So that was quite an interesting one too.
Yeah.
Anyway, mate, you continue. I don't want to ruin a good story here.
No, it's fine. So a marathon gone. Felt really good. Felt really good up to halfway. Sort of, that quite positive. Some great support. I did it at my box in the UK. So I'm UK based, but so I did it at my box in the UK at Sarah CrossFit.
So at this point, you haven't
sort of dedicated a whole.
At this point, you haven't gotten off the road once.
No, because I overhydrated prior to it. I had to get off to go to the loo, and so but literally no longer than I think cumulatively I got off the rower for 2 minutes over the course of the whole event. So I positioned, everything was positioned so that I could get to the loo really quickly, I could get back on. That was all quite deliberate. I hit a really dark moment with about 30 k's to go. I didn't eat enough, and this wasn't sort of arrogance. I didn't think I knew better. I just wasn't in a state where I just didn't feel strong enough in my stomach to be able to consume the food. I had about 25 energy gels sat to my right within arm's reach, all in accessible, with a plan to have one every 20 minutes, and I think I only had 3 for the whole row. And I started to really suffer at about 70 k's gone, 30 k's to go. And fortuitously, I packed a baseball cap. I never row wearing a baseball cap. It's not particularly comfortable, but I packed one because I was worried about my hair afterwards. So I reached and grabbed the baseball cap and just put it on, and thank goodness I did, because it was great to have all that support, but I almost became an exhibit, just sat there. I couldn't move, I couldn't hide. I just pulled my baseball cap down, just almost like as a set of blinkers, and I just turned some music on my headphones, and I just rode, and I found it really difficult because you do go through it, as tough or as big as you are, regardless of what your history is, over the course of 7 hours of fairly intense exercise, there is a range of emotions, absolutely, and they may not express themselves sort of overtly, but inside you do go through not periods of self-doubt, but certainly periods of sort of concern, I suppose. So yeah, I brought this baseball cap and I just pulled it down and really sort of blocked myself out, and just ploughed through that quite low moment, and it corresponded with some pretty cheeky cramp as well. So yeah, it was probably the most valuable part of the whole row, more so than the last K and all the sort of celebrations afterwards. It's really looking within yourself to find what it takes to carry on when it's pretty miserable.
Mate, you just spoke about there in that sort of low patch, self-doubt. In the first part of the chat, you obviously come across as a really confident person. You're going to do something, you fear failure, you don't want to fail, and that's in the lead up to the event. But then you're in this event, and you just said it yourself, there's some self-doubt creeping in. What's happening? Are you starting to think, can I finish this? Is this, and how do you deal with it? Because I just really think that's something that people really experience often in so many different parts of life and don't know how to deal with it. So how did you get over that?
I think it's almost like that internal argument, and I suppose the cliche is the sort of two, the angel on one shoulder and the devil on the other, but there's almost a conversation in your mind, and I've experienced it in this context, rowing 2Ks. You row 2K, you'll be 1,200 meters in, and literally all you want to do is stop. Your whole everything about you is just saying this is uncomfortable. Stop doing it. But you don't, and every time you don't, you are reinforcing that inner strength to just continue to prevail, to override your natural instinct to just give up. And I honestly think that it's no different from 2K to 100K, because the feeling is almost exactly the same. Just the build up to it is longer or shorter. And so the more conditioned you allow yourself to become to that instinct to go up, and the more you don't give into it, the stronger you become and the more confident you become in your ability to get over it. Now, it is quite complicated, and clearly I'm not a psychologist, but I know if I went now, I mean, I went and rode 10K at lunch, and it was a steady 10K. I know if I went now and rode 5K for a PB, at some point in that 17 minutes, I would want to give up. I would absolutely want to give up. But I have that confidence that I won't, because I never have before. And the minute that door opens, or you allow that to creep in, then you've got a much harder fight on your hands. So yes, at 30K to go, it was really miserable. It was really painful, and I wanted to give up, but I just knew I never would. And that's not an arrogance. That's just on experience.
That's awesome. Mate, you've put that together in a really incredible way. Yeah. I've never heard someone speak about it so clearly, and I'm sure so many people are going to get like that last couple of minutes a whole truckload out of.
Super inspired.
Yeah, so it's inspirational for us, mate. So thank you for that bit. Let's get to the better stuff. You're out of the dark part. You're into the last bit. When did it? Your mate got on at 91. When did it start to get easier? When did the cap come up a little bit? I remember so well Storm saying to me the cap's down and this is happening. When did the cap go up, and when did things get better?
I think honestly, I think physically I honestly didn't feel strong until really that last K, I think until the euphoria kicked in. It was I held a 210 flat average over, I think, throughout the whole thing. So I finished on a 210 average. I think I strayed at around 212 then, even with a sort of a pair row straight, carrying out my straight, which is hugely beneficial. And that does keep your timing. But I was hitting about a 26 straight rate throughout, which is way too high. I mean, if I wrote a book on how to row 100K, it would be better titled How Not to Row 100K, because everything I did, if Cam's listening, he'll have his head in his hands. But at a 26 straight rate, I was holding about, I think, a 212, and then I had a pair row. I managed to get that down, and with the K to go, the cap, my mind, I think the state of my mind by the angle of my cap, whether it was up or down. And then 500 meters to go, I just emptied the tank literally. I think I got up a 137 for the last 500 meters. That was a combination of showboating, relief, and just wanted to get it over and done with. In the immediate, congratulations, mate, for finishing. Obviously, it really is incredible. But thanks.
I've watched your video when you put the handle down. What was going through your mind when you I could see that you were completely empty. You would be after something like this, but what were the feelings at that moment in time?
A kind of a self-pride, not in I genuinely believe anyone could do this, by the way. I'm absolutely, and that's when you asked me to talk about it. I asked you about 3 times. Are you sure? Because I genuinely think that anyone can do it. I think that I've done it is proof that anyone can do it. But there was just a kind of a pride that, I had achieved something. I'd achieved something that I wanted to do for quite a long time. It was a sort of a full stop to the fact that I'd been poorly and that I'd become that. And just a huge amount of gratitude for the effort, support, from yourself, from everybody that was there on the day, to, all sorts of people that had invested in me, kind of emotionally and in their support, and just a relief and gratitude for all of that. It was a really good feeling. And then I got off and mopped up all the sweat and dirt and all the debris from the last 7 hours. It was horrific.
So now with this huge accomplishment, I mean, you must have inspired a lot of people, and especially people like your kids or your wife and your friends close to you. What's the stage? What next step from now? Do you have any other big challenges coming up? Do you have any other accomplishments you want to knock off your bucket list?
So I'm doing Ironman next year. So I'll be another anomaly. When I did my ultra run, it was along the Jurassic Coast in the UK, which is in Dorset, and it's really, really hilly. And there's a photo on the start line, and I've got quite a big frame, and this photo on the start line are all these incredibly lean fell runners, and then this this massive sort of lump in the middle, which was me, and a camelback on the back. I just look completely out of place. But I'm going to go and do Ironman. I'm fully expecting to be the same on the start line there. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be good fun. It's funny because you say about inspiring my girls and Rachel, my wife, but it actually works completely the other way around, because I ask a huge amount of my girls, not directly, but just through the way we are at home, and without any shadow of doubt, my girls are my inspiration, and that's not a cliche. You know, Marcus has met the family, and he, you know, you see the dynamic, and my children just don't ever give up. So there's kind of no way that I could ever give up, and if I've entered something, then I've got to complete it. So yeah, I think if showing people that anyone can do it is inspiration, then I hope that's been achieved. But yeah, Ironman next year, and it would be great to go for a rowing record, but that's a long conversation that I need to have with Rachel before I commit to that.
Mate, speaking of rowing records, I think with your time of this 100k row, you have currently on the Concept 2 leaderboard, definitely this season or this year, however this season measures it, I can't remember the exact dates for that, you have the fastest time, so you're number one in the world at the moment. Your time over the last sort of 10 years is also well up there. So would it be a natural progression to do more rowing, another rowing challenge? Would you row for example, maybe 24 hours, or is it too early to think about silly things?
No, it's certainly not too early. It's only too early in terms that I haven't talked to Rachel about it.
Right.
I think if I was to go for a record, I'd go for 1,000,000 meters. Right. It currently sits at 4 days and 23 hours.
Right.
Which if I've already worked it out. So if I row for 9 hours on, 3 hours off, and I think I hit a 2:41 average, then that record's achievable. So, wow. But that would take a huge amount of planning.
Wow.
And a lot of commitment. Yeah.
That's amazing.
That's incredible, mate. I know we've really covered a lot, and a lot of super powerful things there. But I want to sort of wrap it up with two questions. The first thing, if you think about from the day that you started it to the day that you completed it, what was the hardest thing to overcome? Put him right on the spot. No. I think the hardest thing to overcome was I find it quite difficult to accept, not to accept help, but I don't like to feel like I'm putting on people. And this event, and a lot of these events, they do put a lot of pressure on those people around you. They're inherently selfish. Endurance events, as you know, Marcus, are incredibly selfish. And people around you are inspired, and they have a positive effect from it. But on the day, but actually, in order to really do these things seriously, you need to make sacrifices. So I would say the hardest element of this, from start to finish, from inception to completion, was that requisite selfishness, which never really comes very easily. That's something you need to reconcile, and that's when you talk about rowing records or Ironman. It's always that you need to have with those people who are going to be most affected by whatever it is you want to do, because really without their support, then there's just no point in doing it. I agree, and I hear your noise there, and Holly would also probably echo quite a bit of that. What's perhaps, mate, one of the biggest learnings? I mean, you obviously know how to, like you said, you can pick something, you can get on with it. But what was really the biggest learning from this sort of not we've talked a lot about emotions and feeling wise, but more physiological, your body, the way it reacted, this these kind of things. Was there any surprises there? I know you've done some stuff before, but were there surprises, or was there some good learnings there?
Honestly, so I obviously I know you guys in InnerFight, and I follow all the stuff you do, and you're like, if people can't see me, then I don't look anything like you guys. I'm sort of Mr. Average off the street. So I think the one learning from this is that it's about 80% mental and 20% physical. Prepare, absolutely, get fit, put yourself in a position in order that you can succeed. But just because you perhaps are not, a games level athlete, then you don't. It doesn't mean that you can't do good things and you can't achieve your goals. And quite honestly, everything is possible. And all you've got to do really is commit to it and believe in it. But my body held up really well. I did it on the Sunday. I had the Monday off, and then I did the whiteboard Tuesday. I was back in the box on Tuesday, and then I think on the Thursday I did another half marathon, just because I want. And it's funny really, because the half marathon on the Thursday was me not letting the rower, kind of not letting it own me. So yeah, it hurt me on the Sunday, so I almost got back in on Thursday, like you would if you fell off a horse. If you fell off a horse, you almost get back on it and pull the reins tighter and just show it that it's never going to beat you.
Mate, that's it's an incredible story, mate, and I think the way I don't know anyone that could articulate it in such a positive way with so many learnings that, as I said before, I'm sure plenty of our listeners are just going to get so much out of this of this chat. It's just such valuable stuff, mate, and again, massive hats off. I think that's it really from us, mate. You've sort of just gone and answered absolutely everything that anyone would want to hear, and mate, we really look forward to having you back in Dubai, and mate, talking about the next challenge. Once it gets locked in, I think it'd be good to get you back on the show and discuss it, and we could give you some tips about how we think you should go about it. You could then ignore that and then come back and tell us how you did it anyway.
Take it before and after show.
I don't know, mate, but yeah.
Thanks very much.
Congratulations,
so much, mate.
It's awesome. Cool.
Cheers, guys. I really appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Easy. Thank you, James. We'll catch up with you soon.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
Bye.
Initial reactions, Dre?
Very inspirational. 100K.
Yeah.
But with that mental game, I mean, nothing is impossible.
You know what I liked a lot? I like the way that he said there's a thing to do 1 million meters or something, and I've calculated it for 4.5 days, row 9 hours, sleep for 3, repeat.
And he could beat it.
And do you doubt that he would be able to do that?
No.
Easy, right?
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Listening to this guy, I don't think anything really is impossible.
Yeah. I think
as he said, 80% mental, 20% physical.
I like that, actually. I really like that part when I sort of tried to get some information out of him on the physiological side, and he really didn't have anything to say.
No.
Like, you can train. He did his training. We know that. But he's just said, listen, guys, this is a mental game.
As he said, I'm an average Joe, and this is not about the physical.
Yeah.
It's all about the mental.
But his time, as we said there, it's up
amazing.
There.
Yeah.
It's number 1 at the moment on the Concept 2 leaderboard.
It's absolutely crazy.
I wonder if he used products from our show sponsor, Smith Street Paleo, to get him.
He must have.
He must have. I don't think I actually took him any when I was in the UK. Mate, one of the deals with Smith Street Paleo is that we're asking people to go over to iTunes, rate the podcast, leave a review, and they get a bag, a whole sample bag, which contains about 10 of these bags of 3 balls.
Why wouldn't you?
Just so you know, you're not allowed to enter it. Yeah. Shame, huh? Folks, don't forget to do that. Hop over to the site, iTunes, rate the podcast, leave a comment, and send us an email, winning@innerfight.com. And salted caramel, that's what I had during today's show. They kept me going.
Good.
They're very good. Mate, we'll leave it there. That was a great show.
Awesome.
Cheers. Thanks a lot for tuning in. And of course, if you do have any questions or comments, drop us an email, winning@innerfight.com. Don't forget, if you want to win a bag of Smith Street Paleo treats, go to iTunes, rate and review. The review is the important part. Rate and review the podcast, and we will get you a bag of Smith Street Paleo. And also, get ready for our second weekly podcast, Fitness in Under 3 Minutes. It's launched with 2 episodes in 3 minutes, and we solve all your fitness mysteries. Until next time, take care.